Welcome back. In this video I'm going to share with you my new book, The Aspiring Astrologer 52 Self-Paced Astrology Lessons. I'm going to talk to you about the evolution of the book, how it came about, and we'll see whether it's going to be a good fit for you. This book is suitable for new astrology students. If you're just starting out your astrology journey, this will be a great book for you. It's laid out the way you learn astrology, the way you would in a classroom from a teacher's perspective. This book is also great for new astrology teachers, so if you are thinking of starting to teach classes, or you have already started to teach classes and you're being overwhelmed by having to produce all this content, then this book will be a guide for you to make sure that you mention everything in all the classes and you teach your students what they need to know. The point of this book is that what you are learning is actually the things that are important to start with. You may not have 3 years to learn a new subject. I know I would be galled if I had to, but if you want to start and get up and running reading charts quickly, this will be a great book for you. It doesn't cover everything. It's not an astrology cookbook, so it doesn't have Jupiter in Scorpio, Jupiter in Sagittarius, Jupiter in the first house, Jupiter in the second house. It's not like that. You are still expected to have other resources that you are going to be drawing on when you are taking these lessons. The point here is that you are going to be exposed to all the features of chart reading and forecasting that you need to know and be aware of to be a successful astrologer. This book combines all the astrology lessons I've taught over the past 25 years. Each chapter is one lesson, and one lesson would normally take 2 hours in the classroom. I would then typically have a fortnight or a week between classes so that the student can work through the material, do the homework, and ponder and work on some charts. So the idea is that because I've made it into 52 lessons, it's going to be able to be done in 1 year. So I have condensed some of the classes. The houses class was combined, although I did teach it as one, and the synastry class has actually been combined as well. I'll talk more about that in a moment. When I started teaching astrology, it was to 3 women at my kitchen table. And I'd written out a 1-page astrology notes for them. This was the class layout, and I gave it to them, and we had the class, and they went away and came back the next week. And then the next week I gave them another handwritten sheet. These are what I'm calling my 1-pagers. And over time I've eventually typed things up, and then as the computers came in, I put these things on words. So I had a 1-page sheet that was given out at every lesson. And as time went on, I then fleshed out and developed the class information into broader chapters, broader examples, and put more charts in, so that it turned out that each of the class lessons was about 10 pages of information that was then handed out to the students when they came into the class. And I was doing this up until the early 2000s, because when the students came, I printed and dished out 10 sheets to each person. Of course, now we've gone digital, but I issue a 10-page PDF via email to the students, but they're still getting 10 pages per lesson. So I originally started these classes. I had 16 beginner classes, 16 intermediate classes, and 16 advanced classes, giving us a total of 48 classes in the main How to Do Astrology chunk of this book. And that gave us 48 classes with 410 pages each, 480 pages. Then additionally, recently I started teaching the vocational and the relationship astrology, and I wrote more class notes for those. So what I've done is I've put relationship into 2 chapters at the end, and I've put the vocational into 2 chapters at the end to give us a total of 52 classes, because it makes sense. Otherwise I would have had like 57 classes, and it seemed such an awkward number. So I have condensed the synastry class, which was in parts 1, 2, and 3, into one larger class. Now that is very much at the end. I think it's the second last class in the whole second last chapter in the whole book. So by the time you get to that one, you really know what you're doing. But the point was that I wanted to have 52, which is 1 year, 52 self-paced astrology classes. So I just want to talk about the page design. So because this book originated from my 1-pagers, I have kept that layout. So each page will have a main heading, there will be several paragraphs of topic, and then there's usually a diagram or a chart or something that we're talking about on each page. And in this way, each page stands alone almost as you go through the book. So all of the charts in the book I've sourced from Solar Fire and Astro Gold with permission. I've also brought in some diagrams. There's the graphic ephemeris in there, and other astrology art diagrams I have drawn myself, and then where space permitted, if there was a gap at the bottom of a page, I have brought in some relevant free images from Pixabay, such as Venus or Neptune, just to fill in the page, because I didn't want to start breaking the topics from the heading on one page and then bringing it under. So many astrology books, of course, are written that way, but that's why this one is slightly different. So each page stands alone as its own topic. So how are you supposed to use this book? Well, as an aspiring astrologer, this is a working book. I want you to write in this book. I want you to make notes in this book, and I want you to, as you learn astrology and start bringing in the type of astrology that you like, I want you to put it in this book. You can color things in, add bits, cross things out, and make additional notes. You can collage it if you want. It is a working book. This is not a book to sit pristinely on the shelf and just be there. This is supposed to be a book like your ephemeris on your desk all the time, where you're referring to it, making notes, and becoming a better astrologer in the nature of your chart. I teach astrology and interpret charts through the nature of my natal chart, and you will through the nature of yours. Once you've got the basics, I urge you to develop your own style and your own commentary and your own observations, and you can certainly make notes in this book. It is a working book, so please go ahead and make it your own. There are aspiring astrology activities at the end of each chapter. Now, technically this started off as the homework, so there's probably 1 to 10 questions, and the questions are about the lesson we just had. And there are suggested word counts on most of the extended questions, and we have some extend yourself areas where you can go a little bit further. So if you are starting out and you're finding the first 5 questions or they're in themselves too challenging, you can leave it for later. But if you are sucking it up and learning exactly what's going on, I urge you to extend yourself, go the extra mile, practice the things you learn in the lesson on more charts during the time you have available. So that's each chapter has aspiring astrology questions that you would ask of a chart. Now, these are the questions that I ask of a chart when I'm doing a chart interpretation for someone. I'm going through saying, oh, what's the most elevated planet? Which is the closest aspect orb? And I'm making notes of all of these things. So that's why the questions behind the aspiring astrology activities are questions to be posed for each chart you do. So the astrological defaults for this book is it's Western, tropical, psychological, astrology. I mainly use Placidus house cusps, but now and again I've gone in with 0 Aries. It just depends. So you can get this book now. It's now available on Amazon.com and Amazon.uk, I believe. I'm not sure if it's on all the marketplaces, and there is a reason for that. This book is 8 by 10 inches, and it's really, it's 570 pages, and it's quite heavy and quite hefty. So the production costs themselves are substantial, and this comes from Amazon. There's really not much I can do about that. But still, these are the actual lessons notes that I teach in my classes, because I teach private classes. I used to teach in a classroom group, and I found that what you have is, if you've got 10 students, 1 student doesn't know anything, 1 student knows everything, and the 8 in the middle are sucking and following along. So you're not getting a good student experience when you have a classroom that's so fragmented like that. So that's when I turned on to teaching 1-by-1 personal classes. And this has worked for me so well in the last 10 years, where you're teaching one-on-one, so we can deal with your chart, your husband's chart, your mother's chart, your kid's chart, and it's not something that you didn't want to talk about in a public classroom. Maybe you don't want to discuss all the ins and outs of your family dynamics. So this is how I found that private classes work so much better, and it's a far superior student experience when you're teaching one-on-one. But because of that, it's coming from my time, whereas I can only teach so many students each day or each week. There's only so many hours in the day, and that's why they are very expensive. The private classes I teach are expensive, and it's because of the time constraint on me that this is the case. Whereas now there's an opportunity through this book for everyone to find an affordable way to get all the information I would have taught you anyway, right here in the Aspiring Astrologer book. I don't know why it took me so long to realize to put all this stuff together. I had previously been making ebooks and so on about different sections and bits and bobs within the book, and many of my YouTube videos actually reference some of the chapters. However, it was only earlier this year that it dawned on me to put the whole lot together, because people kept saying, gee, your classes are so expensive, how else can I get this information? And that's when I decided to put it on Amazon. I did have downloadable PDFs available on my site, and there are still a couple left, but that also wasn't working very well because people was downloading the aspects PDF, and the next thing they're emailing me saying, I didn't get the file, can you help me? And I'm not even at home, I don't have my computer, I couldn't attend to them immediately. And that again was one reason why I thought, let me just put it all in one book on Amazon, and you can just order the whole thing and get it yourself that way. So this is a book that I have self-published myself. I don't have a publisher. I wrote it myself in Word. I converted it all into Keynote. Every page was laid out by myself. Every page number was put there by me. And I have had 2 editors go through to pick up the typos. I've had an astrologer also look at it for chart inaccuracies, but I do know that errors still slip in. So I'm putting my hand up to any errors that are in this book. If you find any typos or errors, or you have any comments about something that's incorrect or something like that, do just let me know and I can fix it for the next person, because we're just uploading a new file to Amazon for the next person. I have tried my best to get this book out. It's, as I say, because it's self-published, it's all my own work, and I'm owning up to it. I really have done my best. I do have 3 planets in Virgo. I do want it to be right, but there always seems to be something that's going through or that isn't quite right. So do let me know, and I do apologize for that, but it's just how it is. It's the type of that is the nature of self-publishing. Now I'm just going to do a flip through of the book so you can see the pages that are in it. You can see the type of layout it is, see whether it resonates with you. Is it the type of thing you want? There are links below to go to Amazon to pick up your copy, and there's also links to my website, Starzology.com, where there's more information about this book if you just want to have a read or find something else about it. I'm using here the hashtag the Aspiring Astrologer, and anyone who's interested can use that as well. Thank you so much for getting this far. My name is Alison, and I'd like you to enjoy our flip through, and I'll see you next time.